Brock Lesnar ended the streak. But what if he had the streak? Well, in this video, we put Brock Lesnar versus the Undertaker's undefeated streak, and let's see if we can go 22-0, or will he lose every match? Alright, let's jump in with the first one. The first match here is, of course, against Jimmy Superfly Snuka. A great man that, doesn't have any shady things that have happened to him in the past, and he's also got Paul Bearer in his corner. Can the Superfly upset Brock Lesnar here? Jimmy Snuka starts off the match by taking down Brock, and Paul Bearer distracts the Superfly, and Brock goes from good old chain wrestling for a bit, until Jimmy Snuka takes down Brock with a chop and does a springboard kick into the ring. He goes to the top rope and does a diving headbutt, like the clown he is, that Brock is able to kick out of. The two men then trade counters, but Brock gets Snuka into a series of power bombs one by one, and one F5, and the match is over in 2 minutes. Just like that, got squashed, and that's the end of Jimmy Snuka. Good riddance. Good start for Brock, need more of that. 1-0. We move on to the next match here. It is against Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania. Can the Snake slither his way into a victory, or will Brock Lesnar continue the streak? Well, Jake Roberts starts the match with the advantage, and despite the attempts to counter, Jake doesn't let up and clotheslines him from the back. Brock finally does something after a few minutes of the match and does a power slam that this jerk no-sells and gets pummeled till he bleeds, deservedly so, because Brock wants the triple powerbomb spot, but the Snake denies it, and despite Jake trying to fend it off, eventually he succumbs to it. Brock gets the F5 that looks crazy good, but Jake kicks out of it, so then Brock just does another one, and it's it. He hits one more F5, and the match is over. Just like that. Brock Lesnar picks up the win at WrestleMania 8, and the streak continues on till 2-0. The next match in the streak is, oh god, where Brock will be taking the unfortunate spot of Undertaker against Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9. Well, this match was horrific, and Undertaker technically won even though it was by disqualification. Can Giant Gonzalez defeat Brock Lesnar and put on a better match than he did in real life? Well, we start the match and Brock tries to attack the Giant, but he is completely unfazed. No matter what Brock does to him, Gonzalez does not care, and it's pretty comical because he just no-sells everything that Brock does. Paul Bearer distracts the Giant to try and save his client, but this man still no-sells any and all of Brock's offense, and he just dominates the man. Gonzalez then big boots Lesnar down, but Lesnar kicks out. Then Gonzalez locks on the Iron Claw, but Lesnar powers his way out of it and finally nails something, and it's a last gasp comeback maneuver to try to turn the tides of his favor. He tries to win, but Gonzalez kicks out, and then once again, Giant Gonzalez takes down Lesnar and does a big powerbomb to Brock. But Brock kicked out of his powerbomb, so Gonzalez just does something unexpected. The 8-foot Giant puts his feet on the middle rope for a pin, and some fan shouts at Paul Bearer, and he's distracted and misses the fall, and Giant Gonzalez wins the match, ending the streak before it really could even begin. Now, 2-1. I guess the streak is over. But this video is not, because we got like 20 more matches to go. Speaking of stinkers, the next match we got here is against the washed-ass King Kong Bundy at WrestleMania 11. With already a loss, can Brock recover from this, or will this doofus actually give Brock another loss on his record? And despite King Kong Bundy actually doing better than I thought he would, he got his Bundy splash, a big elbow, another elbow, and overall proved to be better than I thought he would be. In the end, it wasn't enough. Brock would do something unexpected. He would go to the top rope and nail a picture-perfect shooting star press to beat Bundy for the 3, and that's it. Brock Lesnar gets his win back, defeats this bum King Kong Bundy, and moves on. 3-1. The next match in the fabled streak is against Big Daddy Cool Diesel at WrestleMania 12. Can Big Diesel defeat Brock before he heads off to WCW, or will Brock send Kevin Nash to WCW in a body bag? Diesel gets some quick elbows in the corner to start the match. It tries for a cover early so he can go home, but it doesn't work. Brock is annoyed by these quick pins by Diesel and grabs and yeets Diesel, and then goes low and locks in the Brock lock on that bad quad that he's torn. But Brock then goes for a German suplex after that failed, but it's blocked, and Diesel locks on a bear hug, trying to make the big man submit. But this doesn't work either, and Brock tries to take down Diesel and deadlifts the 300-pound man and powerbombs him down to the mat. And as this is all going on, Paul Bearer is emoting like a Fortnite character. Okay. And Brock goes for the shooting star press, and he misses it. Diesel goes for the jackknife, but Brock blocks it and counters. Diesel comes back with the shoulder block and is going to set up the jackknife once again, but Brock blocks it again. So Diesel, who's desperate, does something un-Diesel-like. Not one, but 2 diving attacks off the top rope and landing both of them. And Brock was so stunned by this that he couldn't counter the attempt, and the jackknife is finally connected, but again, he kicks out of the dreaded jackknife powerbomb. And then out of nowhere, Brock gets the F5 onto Diesel, and Diesel kicks out of the F5, so Brock tries to grab Diesel, but Diesel rolls him up in a leverage pin or possum pin, and he gets the shock win over Brock Lesnar. Diesel defeats Brock Lesnar, handing him another loss at 3-2. The next match is Psycho Sid for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 13. Also, Paul Bearer is not here, and this match kind of sucked. But can Psycho Sid pick up the win here and revenge his loss? Well, Psycho Sid is cool and all, but I never expected him to do anything special. But he and Lesnar duke it out, and both men pop off here. Both are able to show off their strength and power by throwing each other around, but eventually Psycho Sid is sent to good old Suplex City, and Brock gets him with the F5. He goes for the shooting star press, but Psycho dodges it, takes him down, and does a leg drop from the top rope, very un-Sid-like. Both feet on the rope for leverage, and Lesnar powers out of it, so Sid gets the powerbomb again onto Lesnar, and again a kick out. Another diving move that gets obfuscated by this referee, and Brock does a few shoulder blocks, and these hurt his tummy so much that Psycho Sid could not kick out, and Brock Lesnar picks up the win here off of a very lame finish. And now he is the WWF champion too. So 4-2. After another win by Brock Lesnar, we move on to 1998 at WrestleMania 14, where Brock Lesnar will be fighting against Undertaker's little brother, Kane. And also, Paul Bearer is back, but now he's in the corner of the big red demon, Kane. So, sorry, Brock. With Paul Bearer in his corner, will Kane be able to overcome the Beast Incarnate? Well, the big red monster, who's an unstoppable monster, starts off showing off his unstoppableness. Alright. Kane taunts him, but Lesnar takes him down and proceeds to throw him around like a rag doll. And despite the attacks, Kane shrugs it off like nothing. And after a few quick pins by the monster, Kane does his patented Kane bomb that he stopped using after like 2001, but it looks good. Brock kicked out of the Kane bomb, and Brock attacks Kane and gets the F5 in. Kane kicks out at 2.9, and then that turncoat Paul Bearer distracts Lesnar that leads to Kane failing a chop block. Kane does eventually take down Lesnar, and as Lesnar flips out, Kane jumps off the top for a diving clothesline, and Brock once again barely kicks out. Kane is calling for the chokeslam on Brock Lesnar to put him away, but he kicks him in the gut, sends Kane to Suplex City, and a shooting star press off the top rope, and it's done. Brock Lesnar picks up another win in beating the little brother Kane. 5-2. Alright, the next match in this simulation is honestly the worst match in the entire streak. It's against the Big Boss Man inside a Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 15. Can the Boss Man pull off the upset here and win one for the corporation or himself? Or will he lose once again and, well, holy shit, that's fucked up. The match starts off a bit weird as Boss Man goes to the outside and Brock just stares at him. Eventually, Brock gets him back in the ring, and Brock gets thrown into the cage after both men fight on the outside, brawling around the ring. Boss Man gets Brock in the ring and nails a Boss Man slam. Brock kicks out of it. After both men go to the outside and brawl for another few minutes, Brock gets back in the ring and tries for the F5, but Boss Man fights out of it and follows it up with a spine buster. Brock kicks out of it again, and rather than brawling on the outside for another few minutes like they always do, a belly-to-belly gets blocked, and Boss Man takes a trip to Suplex City, and that is the 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar wins inside of the Hell in a Cell, record 6-2. Undertaker no-showed WrestleMania 2000 because he was hurt. But he's back for peak wrestling at WrestleMania 17 against the game Triple H. Can Triple H play the game better, or will the American Badass take names and bury Trips 6 feet under? Well, when the match starts, Brock generates a beanie on his head and wrestles with it through an entire match for whatever reason. That's cool. Brock dominates the game in the early going and tries to end it early with a bear hug. When both men go to the outside, things get a bit wacky. Triple H dives off the announce table and pummels Brock with a steel chair. Then he gets him back in the ring for a cover that fails. Brock crawls into a corner to try to recover, and Triple H goes for a super finisher with a pedigree off the top rope, and he actually gets it. Oh my god. But Brock kicks out of the top rope pedigree. What a jerk. And Triple H, shedding a tear, tries for a spinebuster, but the ref bumps into Lesnar, and out of nowhere, Lesnar pops Triple H with the F5. But of course, this is Triple H, so he won't go down after one finish and kick out. Brock grabs a trash can to take out the trash, and he puts it to good use. It's not enough for a 3, so he grabs a ladder on the outside and tries to use it, but Hunter punches him down. Brock then catches Hunter in a Kimura lock that doesn't work, and Triple H breaks out of it, and Triple H does a running facebuster and grabs a kendo stick to beat Lesnar with it, and after doing so, he wants to go for another top rope pedigree. Why doesn't it do it standing? I don't know. But Lesnar kicks him down, and then Lesnar goes for an elbow that misses, and then he gets pinned. Yep, he misses an elbow, and then this asshole pins him off of that. And Triple H wins, giving Brock another L, putting the record at 6-3. We move on to the next match in the streak, which is at WrestleMania 18 against the Nature Boy Ric Flair, who recently returned to the WWE. Can Ric Flair make the comeback and pick up the win here, or will Flair get put down like the dog he is? Brock starts off by locking on a bear hug to Flair, and despite Flair getting out of the bear hug by clapping his hands together, Brock is too much and beats this old geezer's ass. Brock grabs a kendo stick, but Slick Rick eye rakes and low blows Lesnar. They don't call him the dirtiest game in the player for a reason, right? Flair gets Brock in the corner and locks on the figure 4 in the corner while on this deal steps somehow. I don't know who's worse off, to be honest. It looks awful. Both men are back in the ring, and Flair does a shoulder tackle and tries for a cover, but it doesn't work out. Rick works on the leg and softens it up for the figure 4, but Lesnar is able to recover and tosses him to the outside, and Brock goes for a table, but then he forgets about it, and Flair begs for mercy on the outside. And of course, because it's Flair, it was just a ruse to get an advantage. Both men get back in the ring, and Brock cracks Rick in the head with a shovel and follows it with an F5. But Flair kicks out at 2, so Flair plays possum and kicks Lesnar in the head, and after a bit of a struggle, takes down Brock, twirls around, and figure 4 is now locked in. And despite getting close, Brock is able to break the lock, flip him over, and they let go. Brock then tosses Flair, but he bumps into the ropes, and a low blow by Ric Flair takes down Brock again. After a failed pin attempt, Rick pummels Brock with a shovel, and Brock punches him hard, and this leads to one more final blow-for-blow battle where whoever wins this will likely win the match. And in the end, both go blow for blow, and it ends in a stalemate until Ric Flair takes Lesnar down in the figure 4, and Brock taps out to the figure 4 leg lock, giving Ric Flair the big win here, putting Brock's record at 6-4. Now, of course, here Undertaker was 10-0, so it's not a good streak at all. The next match in the streak is at WrestleMania 19 against the Big Show and A-Train. And because this is a handicap match with 2 super heavyweights, Brock Lesnar stood his ground, and yeah, he got beat up for a good portion of the match. But he dished out just as much as he could, and Brock, after countering an abdominal stretch, takes down the A-Train and picks Big Show up for the F5, and he gets it on the 500-pounder, but Show kicks out, and they decide to beat his ass some more. But just like before, Brock brains the pain, and somehow he actually pulls it off. After tossing Show out of the ring, he locks on a Kimura lock, and A-Train taps out, and Brock Lesnar wins the handicap match, overcoming the odds, putting the record at now 7-4. Alright, the next match is at WrestleMania 20, where the Dead Man returned to fight his brother against Kane once again. Also, Paul Bearer is back in our corner, but he's kind of useless and just kind of does emotes. Oh well, so how did Kane do in this match? Well, Brock kind of kicks his shit in, knees him in the corner, clubbing blows, and takes him to a trip on Suplex City Boulevard. Kane, despite being a cuck in this match IRL, actually comes back with a spinning power slam, a running power slam, and a backbreaker. Brock tries for the F5, but it's countered, and after a sidewalk slam, Brock gets hit with the dreaded tombstone piledriver, and he goes for a tired pin, but Brock's feet are under the ropes, so rope break. Kane calls him up for a second tombstone, and he nails the second tombstone, but he's still exhausted, and he goes for a cover, but a second rope break saves Brock Lesnar. So Kane goes for a diving press, and he misses, which sets him up for a Suplex City, and Brock wants to end this match. But Kane's still in the fight. The two men are now going blow for blow, and Kane boots down Lesnar and calls him up for a chokeslam to end the match. And it takes a bit, but a third finisher to Lesnar is hit, and this motherfucker still kicks out. Kane can't believe it, so he tries to get him in the corner, but Brock breaks out and Germans him, and I guess it breaks his spinal cord because there's no kick out, and Kane loses to Brock Lesnar once again. Now the record is at 8-4. We watch the next match in the streak, and it is against the Legend Killer Randy Orton in WrestleMania 21. But can Orton kill the legend of the non-existent streak? Well, Brock starts dominating the young Randy Orton, and after getting smacked around a bit, Orton tells Brock to bring it, and they go blow for blow where neither man gets the advantage, and it peters out. Brock locks on a Kimura, but Orton breaks out and gets his comeback maneuver. Clothesline, clothesline, power slam. And after the apron DDT, with all that, there's only one thing left in his arsenal. RKO, and bam, he gets the RKO. But Lesnar kicks out of it. So Orton slithers around once again for another RKO attempt, but Brock counters it, and Randy then uppercuts him down again. And then both men go to the outside and fight for a bit, and then the worst possible thing happens. Brock runs into the ring, and Randy can't make it, so Brock wins via countout like a little bitch. Here's your W, Brock. I hope you shove it up your ass. 9-4. The next match in the streak that we're going to focus on is against Mark Henry at WrestleMania 22 in a casket match. Which one of these men will have their careers put to rest inside the casket and taken off to God knows where? Let's find out. Now, this match was an absolute war. The world's strongest man, the Beast Incarnate, had a 20-minute battle where both tried endlessly to put each other in the casket, but both kept breaking out and fighting on. Both men also nailed their finishers multiple times, and as time got on, the match got bloodier and bloodier to the point by the end of it, it looked like the Texas Death Match. Like, oh my god. But in the end, Mark Henry gets the last World's Strongest Slam, throws Brock into the casket, and slams the lid. Mark Henry survives and buries Brock Lesnar, at least until next year. It picks up the win, making the record 9-5. The next match in the Fable streak is against Batista at WrestleMania 23 for the World Heavyweight Championship. Can Brock Lesnar repeat history and win the World Championship from the Animal Dave Batista? Both hosses start off by doing an odd thing: chain wrestling. But Batista gets tossed out of the ring, and Brock goes to the top for a dive, but he misses, and Batista eventually does an apron back suplex. Ouch. Batista gets him in the ring and dives onto Brock Lesnar successfully. Then he yeets him in the air and does a running power slam. But none of that matters, since Brock no-sold the offense that Batista dished out and belly-to-bellied him. Then the men went blow for blow once again, and out of nowhere, Batista catches Brock with a spear. Brock kicks out of it. But, out of nowhere, Brock picks up Batista on his shoulders and nails him with the F5, and it still didn't work. But then, shit got weird. Bronson Reed came out to interfere in 2007. Batista goes for a schoolboy, thanks to the distraction from Bronson Reed, but Lesnar kicked out of it, and as Lesnar sent Batista's dumbass to Suplex City, Batista then locks in the Batista bite, and he lets go of it for some reason. And then he calls him up for a Batista bomb, and it looks like he's going to do it. But then he just pops him on the top rope. And then Batista teleports through the ropes, and despite defying physics, Brock gets the F5 once again, and Batista kicks out again. Batista is then able to get a quick Batista bomb, but another kick out by Brock Lesnar. And as Bronson Reed emotes on the outside, one spinebuster for Big Dave, and the match is finished. Batista retains the World Heavyweight Championship, putting Brock Lesnar's record at 9-6. The next match in the streak is against the Rated R superstar Edge at WrestleMania 24 for the World Heavyweight Championship. And unfortunately for Edge here, there will be no run-ins from his family, so can he still win the match despite this disadvantage for the opportunist? Well, we start off with some chain wrestling, the two traded roll-ups that both don't work. Then they go back to chain wrestling, and then they go blow for blow 2 minutes into the match, and dudes are acting like they're putting on a 5-star classic here. Shortly after, Edge takes a trip to Suplex City, and then we see us pan to the stage. Is Charles Robinson going to run out here? Well, we don't know, because nothing happens. And the Ultimate Opportunist tries to spear Lesnar, but he gets a knee up right before, and Brock is able to get the F5 onto the World Champion. But Edge kicked out of the F5, and Brock does something he doesn't do often. He goes for a dive that misses, and Edge takes the turnbuckle pad off, and you'd think this would lead to some dastardly deed, but no. A middle rope axe handle and an execution, and that's it. He basically wasted all of our time and the referee's time to do nothing but win cleanly. So, there you go. 9-7. Next match in the streak is arguably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time at WrestleMania 25 against Taker's greatest rival, Shawn Michaels. Can Shawn end the streak? That doesn't really exist here, but just play along with it, okay? Brock gets a leg lock onto Shawn, but it doesn't matter, and Shawn busts open Brock with an elbow a minute into the match. Bro's blading a minute for the love of the game. And then Brock gets thrown into the ropes for a diving forearm for a pin that doesn't get it. Brock goes to the toolbox and does a German and a fallaway slam to take control of the match. Brock grabs Shawn, but he punches him off and goes for sweet chin music, then Brock dodges it. But Shawn decides to go for a springboard elbow, which then leads to a roll-up attempt by Brock, which then leads to a Kimura that finally ended this sequence in a rope break. Whew. Brock then deadlift powerbombs HBK, and Brock throws him into the corner. He takes down Shawn in the corner, but Shawn kicks him away and pops him with the sweet chin music out of nowhere, and he crawls and crawls and crawls before he gets up finally and covers, but Brock is able to kick out. Brock then rolls to the outside, Shawn dives onto him, beats his ass, throws him in the ring, and does a diving elbow off the top to pin him for the 3, and Shawn Michaels killed the streak. And he's absolutely shocked by this, like, wow, I can't believe I did it, even though that Brock has lost like 8 matches now. 9-8. Despite Shawn winning the last match and making the sequel pointless, we're still going to do it regardless. So the next match is against Shawn Michaels once again at WrestleMania 26, where it's streak versus career. Again, this doesn't make any sense, but can Shawn keep his career alive, or is it fated to end here? Anyways, Brock starts the match with control, trying to prove he's still the big man around here, but both men go to the outside, and it looks like Shawn will try to win by countout, but he dives through the turnbuckle ropes. After they fight for a bit, they get back in, and Brock does the most overused move by 2KAI, the Fireman's Stun Gun. So fun, chat. But Shawn then pops Lesnar with a Rana and tries for an elbow that misses. Brock then Germans HBK, and after a clothesline, Shawn immediately kips up and almost catches him with sweet chin music, but he doesn't, and Brock takes him down. Diving knee by Brock off the top is dodged, and Shawn wants the super kick, but Brock catches him and turns it into a Brock lock, which was cool. Brock then drops HBK, and he gets a flying forearm, atomic drop, and power slam combo by the Heartbreak Kid. Shawn runs to the corner and does a moonsault that completely misses. What happened? Did his contacts get in the way or something? I don't know. So he tries for a diving elbow, and he misses it, and Brock tries for Suplex City that gets reversed. He knees him down and lines up for sweet chin music and kicks his head off. But he takes too long to recover, and Brock is still in the game. But unfortunately for him, that would be ended rather quickly, as one diving forearm, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Shawn Michaels beats Brock Lesnar 2 years in a row, making this entire story pointless. Now putting the record at 9-9, dead even. Well, that was a bad run for Brock, but we need to move on, and the next match is going to be against an old foe in the game, Triple H at WrestleMania 27. But can Brock get revenge after his loss in 2001? Well, the two men trade offense between one another before going to the outside and doing the same thing. I mean, they're two big brawling guys. It's what they do. Triple H grabs the table, and Brock is excited for it, but what are the odds he gets used, huh? Well, Trips leaps over Brock and lands a spine buster. He goes for a cover, kick out. Triple H looks like he's going to suplex Brock on the table, but he barely misses it. This would have hurt more, but never questioned the booker, I guess. Triple H decides that he wants to grab a ladder and not climb up it. He just wants to use it to inflict punishment. And this is where things get violent. But first, a Kimura lock attempt, but afterwards, Brock fisherman plexes Triple H onto the ladder. He pins him on the ladder, and despite his shoulders being up, he still counts the fall, but it's a kick out. Good. Brock then goes to the outside and grabs Triple H's old weapon, the sledgehammer. The irony. Well, the Triple H does a pedigree onto the ladder. Cool ass spot. And despite Brock's shoulders being up, just like Hunter, they still count the fall, but he kicks out. And of course, they need to go to the outside once again, and when they get back in, Brock locks on a Kimura, and even with Triple H breaking out and doing knee face busters, Brock takes him down with a punch, grabs a kendo stick, and breaks it over Triple H's head, and this was enough to KO the game, and finally Brock picks up another win after so many L's, and he has achieved his rank. Good. 10-9. And now we are at the 20th match in the Undertaker's streak, where this is going to be an end of an era Hell in a Cell match against Triple H while Shawn Michaels is supposed to be the ref. However, we do have an issue here, chat. We can do Hell in a Cells and we can do special ref matches, but we can't do both because that's just how the game works. So rather than choosing myself, I let a wheel spin determine what we are going to do with just adding HBK into the match because he did so well in the previous ones. And the wheel spin chooses to add Shawn Michaels into the match, making this a triple threat Hell in a Cell match between Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Brock Lesnar. Can Brock survive these two? Well, of course, because this is Triple H and Shawn Michaels, who are besties, they team up on poor Brock to start off hot. Eventually, they break up, and Trips crashes out, or glitches out, I guess. And after 5 or so minutes of the three men fighting in the end, in this end of an era match, Brock locks on a Kimura lock, and it doesn't work, but sweet chin music from Shawn Michaels gets a close 2 count. The game recovers, and he takes out Lesnar, who rolls out, and then a pedigree is delivered to Shawn, kick out. When Brock gets back in, a sweet chin music, and it looks to be over with Triple H rolling the outside, but Triple H is able to get back in and barely break the 2. Shawn and Trips get into a mini spat, and Brock locks on the Kimura onto Shawn Michaels, but it's broken up by the game, and Triple H strangles Brock Lesnar to being, well, passed out, I guess. And the game wins. Just like that, you know? But then something weird happens. Wow, you know, that was a pretty good win. What the fuck? What is happening? What? What is this? Hunter? Odd, indeed. 10-10. The 21st match in the streak is against CM Punk at WrestleMania 29. Can CM Punk finally end the streak that doesn't exist in this run? Because he's lost 10 matches and won 10. Both men start off with some good old chain wrestling, but eventually Brock takes control and beats up Punk. Punk counters with a kick and a Pepsi twist to the Beast. Brock then rolls to the outside but gets suplexed leg first into the steel steps. The two men get back in the ring and Lesnar gets caught with a DDT as a steel chair just appeared from nowhere. Punk goes to the top rope but he misses a knee and Brock backs on him as Paul Heyman, fucks around with the turnbuckle pad like an idiot. After a failed submission attempt by Brock, Punk locks in the Anaconda Vice, and it doesn't work. Brock then does the triple powerbomb sequence in one after one after one, and afterwards he calls for the F5, he gets him on his shoulders, and bam, nails it. But CM Punk barely kicks out. Brock then goes to the middle rope and does a shoulder block. Punk punches him in the face, and gets him in the shoulders for a GTS, and pops him in. But Brock kicks out at 2. Brock rolls to the outside and Punk springboards onto him. He gets back in the ring and double axe handles him for a very close 2 count. Brock finally gets some punches off and clotheslines Punk down. He grabs him from a trip to Suplex City, but Punk gets around him, locks on the Anaconda Vice, and it's over. Brock Lesnar taps out to CM Punk and CM Punk picks up the win here. Now the record is 10-11. Well, the 22nd match in the Undertaker's streak is against Brock Lesnar, which we all know what happened here. But what do we do? So for this match, we're going to swap the roles entirely. Undertaker's going to have Paul Heyman in his corner versus Brock Lesnar defending his pathetic, pitiful streak. Undertaker starts with a DDT and Lesnar tries to roll up through. Taker gets him on his shoulders, but Brock elbows out of it and suplexes him hard. The two men then go to the outside for a minute, and Paul Heyman is freaking out because he's a bitch. The two men get back in, and Brock claps Taker and tries for the F5, but Taker gets out of it right before he hit it, and Taker picks up Lesnar and nails him for the Tombstone piledriver. But he's exhausted and takes too long to cover. That leads to Lesnar kicking out. Taker has had enough and his straps come off, and he tries for a last ride, but Brock blocks the kick to the gut and sends his crippled ass to Suplex City. But then that dastardly Paul Heyman, on behalf of his dead man client, distracts the Beast, and this leads to Taker booting the Beast in the head, and Taker readies for a dive, and he completely misses and crashes headfirst into the concrete. But Taker got up like nothing happened, and gets him back in the ring for a comeback, a snake eyes, a big boot, and a leg drop. He then does a choke slam and calls up Lesnar for one more tombstone. And despite being tired and exhausted, especially after that concussion he got, he lands the tombstone. Crawls over barely, puts one arm on Brock's chest, and the referee counts to 3, and it's over. The Undertaker defeats Brock Lesnar, putting the streak record at 10-12. Well, that's it. Honestly, the record is pretty pathetic, Lesnar. You kind of suck at this. But rather than ending it here, Undertaker did have 5 more matches despite the streak ending. He had 5 more, so for the hell of it, we're going to play through the rest of the 5, and let's see if Brock Lesnar can improve his record. So let's start at the top. The first post-streak match was against the Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 31. Let's see if Bray Wyatt can pull out the win here, or will he fall like he did in real life. Bray tries multiple times to go into the corner for his sister Abigail, but it doesn't work because Brock Lesnar keeps getting back up. And eventually he would get the first F5 onto Bray Wyatt, but the Eater of Worlds kicked out, so Brock tries for one more and it fails. And it looks like Bray might make a comeback, but a punch that he throws gets blocked. Kimura lock is locked in, and Bray Wyatt taps out, and Brock Lesnar finally picks up a win, 11-12. The second match post-streak is against Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 32 inside of Hell in a Cell. Can Shane McMahon make the comeback and pick up the win against Brock Lesnar here? Let's find out. And unfortunately, there were no dives off the cell in this match because Shane didn't feel like it, and the match was only about 5 minutes where the majority of it was on the outside punching one another. What fun. Shane did his shooting star press and then tried to choke out Brock Lesnar with a triangle to put him away, but Brock broke out of it. They had a blow-for-blow punch-off battle between one another, and Brock then picks up Shane, 1 F5, and the match is over. Brock Lesnar basically squashes Shane McMahon in 5 minutes inside Hell in a Cell with no dive. Record is now 12-12. The third match post-Undertaker's streak is against everyone's favorite wrestler at the time, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33, where the winner controlled the yard. Riveting story beats, I know. But with Brock and Taker spot, will Roman be able to repeat history here? And the match was a no disqualification match, so both men used weapons except the table. Don't know why. But Brock sends Roman to Suplex City along with Suplex Town and Suplex Country. Lesnar tries for the F5, but it's countered and it doesn't matter because Brock locks on a Kimura lock and snaps Roman's shitty arm in 2, picking up the win here and probably injuring him. Maybe. Brock's now at 13-12. The fourth match post-streak was against John Cena at WrestleMania 34, which, let's be real, wasn't even a real match and was just a squash. Fortunately for us, Cena survived longer than 2 minutes, so that's a positive, and actually went for a good 15 minutes. Brock triple powerbomb Cena with stereo back-to-back powerbombs, but John Cena triggers his comeback, shoulder block, duck punch, and side slam. Cena went for an AA, but Brock wiggles out of it, but a second attempt at it nails it, but Brock kicks out. So Cena just picks him back up, second AA, nailed onto Brock, but again he kicks out. And then Jey Uso comes out for a run-in. And Brock goes through Cena, like physics defying, and takes him down, and Brock gets an F5 on John Cena. But again, John Cena kicks out. John Cena goes for a third attitude adjustment, and Brock counters it and locks on the Brock lock. But finally, John deadlifts Brock into an AA from behind and finally gets it, and he gets the pinfall victory over Brock Lesnar. And despite main event Jay's interference, it didn't matter as John Cena picks up the win here. putting the record at 13-13. The fifth and final post-streak match, as well as Undertaker's final match and his 27th WrestleMania match, Jesus, before retirement, was against AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36 in a Boneyard match. So in this sim, it's a casket match, since close enough. With a tied record at 13-13, everything's on the line. Can Lesnar get a winning record, or will he fail and be a loser? Well, AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar would fight with the goal of beating one another by throwing each other in the casket, and these two men went to war. Many weapons were used, many finishers were emptied, and no blood was spilled, unfortunately. But after many attempts to throw one another in the casket, Brock used the last bit of strength left, dropped Styles in the casket via fireman's carry, and shut the lid on this run. Brock Lesnar wins the Boneyard match, bringing his score to a final of 14-13. Barely squeaks out a winning record here. Alright, I hope you liked this video. It was kind of fun, and well, I'll see you next time. Take care.